Welcome to Konstanz and to Cosmos. Thank you so much for being here. We're just have a really quick introduction about the structure of the workshop. And we just wanted to give a brief introduction to ourselves as the organizers. So, Walter, maybe you want to say a couple of words about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Walter. So basically, I'm studying about human social learning, collective decision making, and yeah, a bunch of stuff. And I'm doing a bit of population dynamics and originally game theory as well. And I'm also doing some comparing human behavior and non-human animal collective behavior as well.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Charlie. So I'm based at the University of Tübingen, which is a short 2-hour train ride away from here, just to the north of the Black Forest. I'm a computational cognitive scientist. I'm working in paradigm studying collective foraging in humans, theory of mind inference, so inferring and mentalizing about other people's hidden mental states and beliefs. And also trying to understand, develop a computational framework to understand how we use a diverse set of social learning tools. So in addition to us, we also have a fantastic faculty who are giving a series of great talks about current state of the art. So later, Stefano from ENS Paris will be giving a talk about the blessing and curse of value shaping imitation. So he's going to be talking about different types of very simple social learning strategies and how the interplay between them. Elena Mew from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology will be giving a talk about cumulative culture, the evolution of technology, so how technological innovations evolve over consecutive multi-generational timescales. And Ariana Schrammer-Peshkin, she's based here at PI Animal Behavior / University of Konstanz, and she's going to be giving a talk on communication and coordination in social groups. So some of her work was presented earlier by Ian in this baboon geo-tracking task, and she's going to present some of her more current work. We also have Ralph Curvers from the Max Planck Institute in Berlin, and he's going to be presenting the cognitive mechanisms underlying information cascades. So how decisions by individuals influence one another, it can create these cascades towards towards either a beneficial or maladaptive outcomes. We also have Natalia Velez from Harvard, and she's going to be talking about how we learn from other minds. So probabilistic models of human social learning in terms of inferring beliefs about other people and trying to unpack the content of other people's minds from their behavior. And last but not least, we have Mark Ho from Princeton, who's going to be presenting models of multi-agent action and inference. So we're going to be looking at how individuals behave in these multi-agent settings, taking kind of existing paradigms of reinforcement learning, but pushing it much more towards the social learning domain, where some of the standard mechanisms of reinforcement learning in individual settings don't necessarily apply in social settings. And in addition to these talks, me and Walter are running a series of tutorials as well. And so these tutorials, we'll kick one off right away. We'll teach some of the key concepts and theory behind applying computational models to understanding behavior. We also have a series of code notebooks that provide a guided introduction to the method. So these are kind of a companion to our tutorials. And they also have some exercises that allow you to go beyond the materials as well. But they also offer all the code to reproduce all the analyses and offer some really nice code snippets that you can also use in your own research as well. So these are available on the website. If you just look to course materials, you'll have a link to all these code notebooks on the website. And these talks by the speakers I just mentioned will then provide kind of insights into the current state of the art research, how you might be able to apply these simple principles that we'll teach in the tutorials to your own research as well. And in addition to all these, we have a series of mentorship sessions. So one today after the talks are over, and one tomorrow as well. And these will give you a chance to have one-on-one opportunities to meet or meet as a group. And it's really up to the faculty how to structure these meetings. But we also want you to get you out in the world. You're here in Konstanz in this really amazing location. We thought it's kind of a shame that often workshops have you cramped up in a small room all the time. We're going to send you out in the city, and you guys can get some sun and do these mentorship sessions while also exploring the city. Okay. And this is also a chance to talk about your own current research and try to bridge connections between the work of your mentors and your own. So we're going to start off with a series of tutorials. And the first one we're going to do today is we're going to introduce social learning tasks. So we're going to teach you how to program an interactive learning environment where multiple agents can interact with the environment. So we forgot a word here. Second tutorial, which we'll have tomorrow, we're going to then teach you models of learning. So we're going to teach you how to program agents that can learn from both individual and social information. These allow you to perform simulations, but then also apply these models to behavior from either human or animal participants and then try to capture their behavior in a set of interpretable parameters. And then the last tutorial, also tomorrow, is on model comparisons, where the goal is to provide some guidance about how to test which model provides the best fits, best balance between fit and simplicity, and how to assess the robustness of these models. So without further ado, we're going to launch right into the first tutorial and kick things off. So I think I'll hand it over to Wataru now.
Well, thanks, Charlie. So now, the tutorial won't begin, but no worries at all. So the tutorial one is not that intense. We can just relax. No complicated, mathy stuff really going on. So it's just what we want to do here today is we want to set up what the kind of real world decision-making program looks like normally, and then I introduce like a very basic decision-making model or decision-making like a task setup, which is called multi-armed bandit program. And then I'll do some interactive online game demo, and then we will eventually discussing about how this basic reinforcement multi-armed bandit program would be related to more realistic advanced decision-making program in real life. Right, so let's get started. So of course, every single animal, many species, animals and plants are living in an uncertain world. So they daily life, they have to solve these tasks, together, with social interaction or making consensus decisions, as Ian talked this morning. And of course, humans as well. So human beings also, solving a task, in the range of different different tasks, like making tools or how to find this complicated behavior or these decision-making programs are looking like very diverse, very ranging from seemingly unrelated to each other, but broadly speaking, or let's make it very simplistic. Well, so by and large, many animal decision making could be, not all, but many kind of decision making program could be seen as a choosing between multiple options, right? So for example, this is Penobscot ants. They live in underneath of the soil, and they have to choose between different nests. When their nest is broke down, then they have to choose one of the next nest from the bunch of possible next nest. But this this example, this is like a controlled experimental setup Takao Sasaki has done. So this is like he controlled like a quality of the nest and in the arena. So there is a whole the group of ants have to choose between these two. Discrete choice, and then they have to do that through learning and searching information, and eventually they have to make a decision. Or this is another example. This is a great tits experiment done by Liz Upping and colleagues. So this is like a kind of foraging task, but this in this setup they introduce like two ways to open the feeder. So one is like pushing to the red colored door, or either also the birds can open the door by pushing blue side. So there are two options, discrete options. And then these birds can solve this program by individual learning, of course, but they can also observe others, what other birds doing. And so they are social learning or the scrounging. So once this bird open the door, and then other birds, other birds might also take that opportunity to steal some food. So this is called scrounging. So this is social interaction, providing additional opportunity to learn. And so eventually, the population-wise, they're eventually choosing one of these ways to open the door. So of course, like nest hunting decision making by ants or foraging situation by this was looks very different, and mechanisms are also different. But we can still see that this is like a kind of similar type of decision making program. And then the one way to model it is called right-hand bandit paradigm or program. So this is like a human example. So a human anthropologists or psychologists have been also doing studying about human learning, human decision making through this task framework. So this is I brought the example of the farming game setup done by Richard Macarius or Dominic and their colleagues. So yeah, so let's say this is the farmer. You are the farmer, and you are still naive. You just started the farming job. You might change the job, and you just started this. So you're so naive, so you don't know. So but you plant maybe I don't know wheat or potato, but you don't know which one may be better, right? And then, so this is the situation. And then, so he has to learn through his own experience. He has to try out the potato, wheat, and we got some, and then make some crop, and then so this, and then get some payoff or get some result of the this season. And then this, based on this experience, then he decides which crop to plant in the next season. So this is like a decision based on the experience. And then what's the feature of what's the nature of this task? That is that so he could only know the partial. He could learn through his own experience, right? And then this experience might be noisy. So for example, let's say the potato and the wheat might have a different expected average reward value, right? So that in this case, wheat, let's say wheat is better one, but he doesn't know, right? He doesn't know the nature of that task. But each dot represents his possibly experience he could examine by his own decision making. But it's noisy, so because of the environmental noise or any other reasons, he couldn't control himself. So there's a uncontrollable noise, and then we as a modeler, but we still could model how this noisy dot could be produced. And let's say, okay, then let's assume this environment is governed by a normal distribution noise. So we know, as a modeler, we know this true distribution of the environment. But again, he couldn't know that directly, but he only could access to each noisy dot. So this is like a basics of two-armed bandit program. So, and then based on each experience dot, he has to update his belief, or he has to learn which might be better, and then he has to decide for the next season. And of course, we can think about more like a 10-round case or 30-round case, so we can easily, this kind of paradigm can be easily extended to more complex. But like the simplest case is a 2-round bandit. And yeah, it's obviously kind of this type of model could be applied to the nest hunting, the two nest hunting experiment or directed foraging task as well. So this is still very abstract, but thanks to that, we can apply this framework to a wide range of decision-making situations. So let me summarize that. So the multi-armed bandit program has these features, key features. One is the reward is unknown until the option is actually chosen. So the farmer wants to know, which clock might be better, but he couldn't know until he actually tried it. And the goal of his longer term goal is like maximize his like total utility or total happiness or total payoff accumulated. So it's not that like finding the best one, but this is also important. But accumulated payoff is important. So because the decision maker has to maximize the total reward accumulated, then the so-called exploration and exploitation trade-off emerges. Like, it's not a good idea to explore for the entire lifetime, right? But eventually, the decision maker has to switch or has to eventually exploit the knowledge they collected. So how to balance between exploration and exploitation is like a key feature of this task. Then, as I said, there's a lot of complicated computational stuff today, right? So we're gonna play some game. So I'm gonna introduce a very simple, fun, multi-and bandit game. So this is like a cover story, really like Fisher board game. So each of you will be a fisherman, fisherwoman, and a fisher board. And then, and so your goal is that you have to catch as many fish as possible. And there will be, let's say this grid is an ocean. You can play around. So, but this ocean is divided by 16 different areas. Right? So that means 16 different options you can choose. But each area might have different amount of fish, right? So you have to get many more fish, you have to find the better option. Try exploration. So yeah, I'm gonna. So then maybe the good question to focus is for this one. So this is like only individual learning task. So each of you will play as a single agent. There's no social interaction yet, right? Then the good question to ask is how do you learn these options efficiently, and how to navigate yourself to maximize exploitation balance. So to do that, please open to the tutorial code notebook 1. Right, so that was individual learning task. So that the link is open. So later on, each of you can play in a hotel or whatever. And okay, then let's get back to the talk. Yeah, true. So because as Stefano also asked before, there's the remaining clicks also shown here. So that there's a 10 trial. So this fisherman somehow knows they only live 10 seasons, and then he will die after that. So and then given this known lifetime, but this is also, so in that case you could use that information, right? So, but if it's unknown, this is also a kind of maybe a challenging, if it's unknown when the task is actually stopped. So, yes.
Yeah, one thing, I think the first clicks were not were both for exploring, but also understand how was the range of the payoff. And I think because we are looking at these, this example, we kind of knew already that it was it could be a little bit above 200, or it could be 50, but I think the first clicks, if we would have seen this, it would be also to understand which range, what would be the maximum delay.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so because this human artificial task, the point is really doesn't really mean anything, right? So just 200. But if this 200 is high enough or it's low, depends on the task. And this is also kind of unrealistic setup because, for example, animal foraging, animals already know whether it's tasty or whether it's good food or not, based on maybe genetic, or physiological setup or past experience, right? So, but in this kind of artificial game task, it's very important, what kind of prior expectation of the participant. It would massively influence the exploration behavior, decision making. So, but yeah, that's a very good point. Right, so that's the easy peasy individual-based individual learning task. So then eventually, it's going to be more interesting if there are many other fisher boats around you. So it's not only you fishing this area of the sea, but there are many other different fisher boats. But let's say for next session, still, there's no, you are not competing each other still, right? So even though there are many other boats around you, but let's say the ocean might have an infinite number of fish. So there's no resource consume competition between you guys. So you can just then the fact that the many other boats is around and they are playing the exactly same task. So then that gives you some hint, which option might be better or worse. So let's play this game, and then maybe you can think about like how what kind of social learning or when or how using social information will outperform the performance when you're done individually, and why.
Right. So here's the first notebook, and if you scroll just below where individual learning is, there's going to be a social learning task. I'm going to have everyone click this at the same time. Okay. So we're going to try to see if you can do this. Here's a social learning experiment.
Now group 1 and second group is both done, and you guys are doing really fantastic job. Most of them reach the best, the optimum option. So the collective intelligence might already emerge. But do you have any idea, or have you thought anything like how could you use social info, or how could you manage to use social info, or when and how social learning is being much more efficient than social learning? Yeah. So it seems like once someone seems to be finding the seemingly good one, and everyone go there. But in that case, that might have like that do mean that everyone missed there's potentially much better one, but everyone missed that opportunity. Yeah, so that's the kind of risk of the using social learning. So the social learning might be good, but that would also create the less exploration afterwards. Yeah. So in this game, as this is like also kind of a weird situation where everyone every naive board start at once. So at the trial 1, everyone is naive. So no one knows where is better place. But eventually they gradually learn through the experience of social learning. But in the real world, there might be already some better on board, some more, and some naive ones. And so the population tends to be very mixed in real life. So this is like, again, kind of a very simplistic assumption. And then, so that's why the social info value might be changing during the task. So as this was intentionally, I made this environment, so it's like everyone can wait, until other boards are moving around. So this could create some, opportunity to scrounge others' effort, or you can also, go directly to where you think is best. So, but it's also up to you, up to the modeler, what kind of environment you want to create in this environmental game, right? So we can also only show each other individuals' behavior after everyone made a decision, and then show others' behavior at once after everyone made decisions. So in that case, it won't be able to wait others, and so these are also up to a modeler's choice, right? Yeah. So heterogeneity is also key, as I said about this environment. Well, of course, we are each individual is a different participant. So in that sense, maybe the heterogeneous group, but for example, everyone start at once, so the knowledge level might be less diverse. So, but yeah, if we can add some more heterogeneity in the knowledge level or skill level, or then we can might be, we would expect the different type of collective behavior also emerge. So that's also a key parameter as well. Yeah, right. That's an interesting point. So maybe the social info might reduce your requirement, how much amount of information you have to remember, because you could somehow outsource the exploration effort to other people. So then that might also change your learning, social learning, individual learning parameters or dynamics. So that's, I think, the very important point. Okay, let's move on to the final example demo. So last time we ignore we didn't assume there's no competition because resources infinite amount, but in real life, in many places, many environment has only limited resource. That means once many individuals use the single resource, then you have to be competing each other via direct interference or via consuming the same resource. So in the case here, I introduced some competition as assuming that the number, the payoff from the single cell, depending on how many people are choosing that cell. So like this. So then we see what would happen, what kind of social learning use or social learning strategy might be better in that case. Right.
Maybe let's reverse the order and have the size start first. So if you scroll down just below the social learning experiments, competitive social learning experiments.
Yeah, this one.
Everyone's cursor's on the link.
Right, we're done. So as you've seen, the environment or your experience must be different, from the non-competitive one and competitive one, right? So what do you know? Any thought on those questions? How these competition will change your behavior, or what type of social learning must be useful? So yeah, it's not like the previous task. People are not really converged on the single option because it's not a good idea. So the distribution of the group might be more spread. After that session, I show that a rank of the option, but I think that's not really important here, because the top option is not always the good one anymore, right? In this environment. So yeah, that's a key change of this task. That's right. Yeah, the collaboration will be actually the wise. So in this case, you can't really communicate each other, but in real life, maybe you can coordinate with others to maximize each other's payoff, right? That's the key feature. And we could, so these are only the very simple, some not very realistic, but simple, very example of the social learning in the multi-unbounded task. But we can also, of course, we can change some assumptions there. We can tweak more, the environment structures or assumptions of the social info available. So we can, creative, be very creative about what kind of task we want to use to ask or to answer your own question. So yeah, let me briefly, to wrap up this session, let me then show how this type of simple multi-unbounded task would be related to a very diverse range of real-world decision-making problems. So one key literature is maybe so the social foraging studies, or social foraging situations where information is very useful, but also these are competition. So like our third example demo. So in this case, social learners could be also a kind of a free riding others exploration effort. So there are like a scrounging and information producing game. It should be considered to model. And Charlie, me and Charlie will introduce some well-known program emerging here called Rogers paradox. Why social learning with how social learning might be, not always adaptive, for the entire population because of this competition. Another key extension would be like socially correlated bandit task. So our demo example here today was not, each option was not correlated each other. So even though you find some good option, it doesn't mean the neighborhood option might be also good, right? But many ecological environment, the option payoff might be correlated each other. The nearby option might be similar compared to the far away. And so this is like a key, important feature of the real world. We can also still start from the multi-bandit, but we can extend that using a model. And related to that, the spatial environment could be only 2-dimension or like 3-dimension when you consider depth or width, height. But in theoretically or in real, many decision-making tasks could be seen as a like n dimensions decision-making task space. So, for example, making a stone tool, there are many key features you can manipulate, you can control, like shape of this tool, or what type of stone you might use, or the width and height of this stone. So you can control many parameters of this stone tool. So you have to explore many different dimensions, and like also Charlie's previous experiment. So this dimension could be also like more abstract, like the angles and like these abstract shape. So we can also, the decision makers sometimes have to search for in this more abstract environment, and this is similar to the searching in the n-dimension fitness landscape. And yeah, and also related to the spatial correlated task, the many animal decision making is also is related to the spatial navigation. So rather than choosing like a discrete point, discrete option, but animal, when they move to the somewhere else, they have to decide which direction they want to choose, and how much step they want to take in each single decision making, the movement decision making. In that case, the decisions more repeated and more asynchronous, and so in this navigation environment and navigation task, we need to consider a little bit more advanced things compared to the simple multi-bandit. Yeah, and also, although we only look at focus on social learning or copying others' behavior, but especially in humans, it's also very important ways to spread the information socially. That is teaching or advice giving, right? So, for example, when like the technology, information of the technology or skill is transmitted, it's been shown that the teaching or verbal communication would boost the how accurate the information can be transmitted. And also, advice giving is also a good way to teach the naive learner to achieve the best performance. So these like a teaching behavior is also interesting behavior, and this should interact with social learning strategies. And so how teaching and social learning would interact is a very important, interesting, advanced topic. Yeah, another example is kind of evidence accumulation situation. So as I said, how whether you focus on multi-unbounded task or not depends on your research question. So maybe sometime in some case you might be interested in, for example, reaction time, or how quick you want to choose, make a decision. And then this type of question might be fit well with this type of evidence accumulation model, or you can see the situation as a evidence accumulation task. So it's up to you. It's up to the modeler. And then in the case, there are a bunch of the literature about, for example, diffusion model to capture the reaction time and decision making and learning interactions. Yeah, and then finally, so as Ian talks as well, so some animals, including humans, sometimes have to reach a consensus as a group. So we've been focusing on individual-based decision-making tasks, but many animals have to coordinate each other's decision-making input, and then they have to make one single decision-making output as a group. So that how they can achieve, how can we reach a consensus is a kind of another different level of a challenge. So there are a bunch of also literature, and here we can use some advanced model, but I'd say although these are very diverse different topics, which is quite advanced, but still we can see some connections with this multi-unbounded paradigm, like social foraging, of course, but like so when the distribution is correlated and in a two-dimension or in a dimension space, in abstract scape, and or we can also extend that paradigm to think about how animals are navigating in spatial space, and how teaching, advice giving would work efficiently. This type of question could also be approached through the multi-unbounded paradigm. And yeah, and it's not necessarily the same thing, but we can compare the bounded task and reinforcement learning in the bounded task and evidence accumulation. So we can see the similar situation using the different angle. And yeah, and how to make a consensus can be also when the reward is corrected, corrected reward is key, and they have to coordinate their decision, then we can think about the consensus decision-making situations. Right, so these are the potential connections between connections to the more advanced topics. But I'm also happy to hear any other examples, any other research literature you might think it's somehow connected to the reinforcement learning or multi-unbounded. I'd love to hear any thoughts or ideas if you come up with any ideas.
Maybe the argument we're trying to make here is that we're studying a very simple discrete choice problem, which is the multi-layered bandit, and we can extend it in all these different directions to capture a much wider range of social decision-making tasks. Ian showed us a wide variety of behaviors, and we're able to kind of make minor tweaks to these paradigms, right? To this multi-layered bandit paradigm, to then describe these other tasks through these tweaks. And so we're going to focus the later sessions on modeling agents and using these agents to capture either human or simulated behavior from a multi-embedded task. But we want you to keep in mind that we're hoping to expand the scope of where we can describe social learning and collective behavior to a much wider range of possible tasks. And I guess now we also have a collective decision-making task. We're breaking now for lunch.